What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the God Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, with my co-host, Donovan Moore.
Yes, sir. What's going on, fellas? Happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays to all. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. B, how was your Thanksgiving, man?
It was wonderful, man. These games were entertaining. Won some money on the Packers. Dolphins went with the over on the. Actually, no. Went with the spread on the Packers, and they won me some money because the Dolphins can't play in cold weather. Just know that moving forward.
100%. That's a great move, B. That's a great Thanksgiving. So we are back on the podcast this week. We got Week 14 ahead of us. I don't know if you guys are in your playoffs or if your season's over for fantasy. I'm so sorry if that's the case, but we're still here to cover everything, all the matchups this week. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all of that type of stuff. And without further ado, let's get into the Week 14 matchups.
Three-pointers. Outside jumper for three at the bucket.
All righty. We're going to get started here with the bye weeks. We got the Ravens, the Broncos, the Texans, the Colts, the Patriots, and the Commanders all on bye this week. So set your lineups accordingly. First matchup we'll be getting into this week is the Packers and the Lions. This game obviously already happened. I believe we all picked the Packers for this one, and we all took an L on that one. So does anybody have anything to say about this game before we keep it moving? All righty. Shout out Josh Jacobs. All right, first matchup for this week, we got the Jets and the Dolphins. B was just talking about the Dolphins not too long ago. They don't play really well in cold weather. It's pretty hot in Florida, so they're going to be good this week, B?
Yeah, and the Jets, on top of that, don't play well anywhere. So I think the Dolphins have the advantage here, and I think they're going to win here. I mean, Aaron Rodgers misses a wide-open Garrett Wilson in the end zone and then throws a pick six on the next play. The brother is cooked. Like there's no way around it. There's no way around it at this point. Like it is a failed project. It's the most failed acquisition of all time, probably. Jets built this super team, quote unquote, and it's collapsed and slapped them in the face. Does not look good. Their future does not look bright. I do not know who's going to want to coach there next year. And the Dolphins don't look that good either, but they're going to win this game. They're going to look good on Sunday. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. You just can't pick the Jets at this point. And then on top of that, no Breece Hall, no Sauce Gardner, and really no pride that you can see in this Jets team right now. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins. It's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins. I think they're going to have a great week this week, honestly. Not a lot of resistance is probably going to be put up by the Jets. Not much to talk about here. I mean, I'm disgusted with the season Tyreek Hill has had. I think Jonnu Smith is a dog, and it's kind of ridiculous. I feel like you're not going to make it that far with Jonnu Smith as your number one target. And this dink and dunk offense that they're running, it's nasty. I hate to see it, but it'll work out this week against the Jets. Next up, we got the Falcons and the Vikings. B, who's winning this one?
Well, Kirk Cousins returned to Minnesota. I do not think it's going to go well for him. He's probably – I'd say he's the most declining quarterback of the year behind Aaron Rodgers. Like Kirk just does not look like. I mean, I'm not going to say he was ever like a star or anything close to that, but he doesn't even look like the Kirk we know that was consistent in Minnesota. The Vikings they're like that, man. I don't know if I call them Super Bowl contenders, but possibly spoiler contenders in the playoffs. Kevin O'Connell's done a great job making Sam Darnold look like a competent quarterback. He's either going to get tagged or paid next year. And Aaron Jones starting to, get heavily involved. And obviously Jay Jettis is Jay Jettis, and Addison's a strong number two. Hawkinson's looking good, and their defense is sound with Brian Flores calling the defense. And they're just going to create a mess for the Falcons, who just look like per usual, the NFC South, the leader looks very weak and suspect. So I don't even know if they can hold on to the lead over the Bucs, even though they swept them. We're gonna see in these final 4 or 5 games, but definitely got the Vikings here.
I'm actually going to take the Falcons in this one. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now, but I feel like with the way the Buccaneers are playing, the Falcons having the tiebreaker over them, they need every win they can get so they can retain that division lead. Kirk's going back to Minnesota. I feel like he's going to want to prove why they maybe should have kept him. even though the Vikings are looking excellent this year. They had a close game versus the Cardinals last week. So I think the Falcons are kind of refocus in this one. I think Kirk Cousins will have a solid game going back to his old home, and I think the Falcons will find a way to get the victory. I just feel like they have a lot more riding on this than the Vikings do. The Vikings are pretty much, in my opinion, locked into that 5 seed. I don't think they can win their division with how the Lions are playing. So I think this just means more to the Falcons. They desperately need this win, and I think they'll find a way.
Wow. I was fully thinking Vikings going into this, and that was a pretty good sell there, Dono. But I'm still ultimately going to go with my head here. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I just think the Falcons are too inconsistent. I can't pick them right now. And the Vikings at home, their weapons are all there. I just feel like I have no reason to pick the Falcons. But they have looked pretty good. Bijan Robinson's been a lot better in the last coming weeks, and I feel like that's kind of what we've been preaching for them to do is get the ball to Bijan Robinson. So if Kirk doesn't even look good, I feel like they have, they got Bijan, so they can still definitely compete in that game. I wouldn't be shocked if they got a dub. Next up, we got the Saints and the Giants. This is terrible, an awful matchup. No Taysom Hill out for the season now. And the Giants are just the Giants. So how do you feel about this game, B?
I'm just going to roll the Saints just because they're playing the Giants for the simple fact. And with the new interim head coach, they have shown some pride. I'm going to say, obviously, the Taysom Hill injury is a big blow to them and to that contract. But, they won those 2 games against the Falcons and Browns. And the Rams pretty close last week. The Giants are just a mess. They're just like the Jets. They're just the city of New York just can't catch a break here. They just both look like they have terrible futures ahead of them, even though the Giants could possibly get a quarterback in this draft. They might figure out a way to ruin him. Just cannot go with the Giants. They could be playing anybody, and I'd pick against them. So that's why I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints as well. Taysom Hill's injury, don't wish an injury on anybody, but I have Alvin Kamara in fantasy. As many touchdowns he took away from that man this year. This could have happened when my season was a little more in the balance, but whatever. But I'm gonna take the Saints to win this one. These are 2 bad teams, but the Giants are worse. So yeah, I got Saints.
Yeah. Well, as the Saints have Alvin Kamara, they should be able to win. I don't even think Malik Neighbors is going to play for the Giants at this point. I'm not really sure. He's still questionable. So that's probably the only glimmer of hope that they have. I feel like we should just flash this next matchup on screen and then just move to the next one. We know what's going to happen here. This is annihilation. It won't be competitive. Well, it could be competitive, actually, with the Panthers. They've actually looked pretty good the last couple weeks, at least Bryce Young has.
They'll compete, but they won't win.
Yeah, they might compete, but they won't win. Next, we have the Browns and the Steelers. I am going out on a limb here this week, and I'm starting Jameis Winston. The volume's going to be there. This could be a high-scoring game. I've seen the Steelers score 40 points recently. B, is this the week you guys score 40 and get it done?
Well, last week we were finally able to do that against the Bengals, but obviously the game against the Browns on Thursday night a couple weeks ago, we all knew it was a potential trap game, and sure enough, it was. Hope we are focused and more ready for what the Browns could bring this time around. They're not as bad as what their record says. They haven't won a regular season game of Pittsburgh since 2003. So the pressure is there for it to continue. But I do think this could be a really close game, surprisingly. Just think the Browns are starting to really open up their offense and show their weaponry, and they obviously look a lot better without Deshaun Watson. Jameis Winston, while he might not be the most consistent QB, provides some sort of spark because of his, motivational speaking skills or whatever. But he is always known to throw a couple interceptions, and Steelers sure do need to take advantage of that. Jameis Winston's either good and bad or just bad. It's never just good. So when he's bad, you got to take advantage of that. And I do think the Steelers being at home and not playing in front of the abominable snow monster they played in front of 2 weeks ago, they might be a little more consistent than they were and finish these drives that they didn't finish a couple weeks ago. And they'll win like 30-24, something like that.
Yeah, I got the Steelers as well. That loss to the Browns a couple weeks ago, they just weren't playing how a Steelers team usually play. And with that being said, I'm going to take them to win this game, especially if they want to win the division. They got some huge games coming up after this. So I feel like this is almost a must-win for them going into the stretch they have with Philly coming up, Baltimore, and I believe Kansas City as well. So a tough next 3 games for Pittsburgh. So I think they'll lock in and win this one and get ready for these next bloodbath games coming up.
That Browns and Pittsburgh stat just made me re-question my entire fantasy week. But I think the Steelers have a really good chance to win this game. Again, they weren't focused the last time these teams matched up, and now they're home. So, gonna go with the Steelers in this matchup. And with that being said, we got the Raiders and the Bucks. Just talking about the Bucks, I mean, if they're gonna win their division, this is a matchup they have to win. Will they get a win here, B?
The battle of the pirates. That's what this is right here. We got the Raiders, we got the Bucks. But the Raiders are just kind of like you got to put them in that Giants category. I mean, they got in Jets category. They got Max Crosby, but they're really bad. They're just really awful. They almost beat the Chiefs last week, crazily enough. But the Chiefs are in a close game with just about anybody. So I don't know if I should give the Raiders all that much credit for that. The Bucks are what the Bucks have always been the last 3 years. They're mid. They're just super mid. And them and the Falcons will compete in the mid-off for the NFC South title. So I think for them to jump the Falcons, they got to have a better record than them. So they got to win a game like this. So I'm going with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks as well. They're going to find a way to win.
Shivered me timbers. I'm going with the Bucks. All right, I'm going with the Bucks. Next up, we got the Jags and the Titans. Not a lot to talk about here. I think the Titans are going to kill them, if I'm being honest. I think Tony Pollard has a day. Does anybody pick the Jags in this matchup?
I got the Titans too. I just think with Mac Jones playing, you just don't have that much of a chance. And obviously, hope Trevor Lawrence is in good spirits after taking that hit last week. But the Jaguars just look like they've totally given up, man, and have turned the page to next year already. So, I mean, obviously the Titans are probably there too, but I think they'll get the win here as long as Will Levis doesn't throw pick sixes.
Let's get to what the people really want to hear. Was that hit dirty on Trevor Lawrence?
Overall, yeah, it was dirty because, I mean, how do you say his name again? Al?
I don't even know.
How do you say
Al Shahir?
Al Shahir, yeah. He does have a little bit of a history of being a little extra. Nothing that's gotten him suspended, but there has been a target on his back, and I do believe he's gotten fined before. He was kind of leading with the forearm, but I mean, I understand it's probably instinct. So it's a tough subject, and I don't know if they need to change the rules for quarterbacks. Maybe they need to wave their hands like a fair catch or something, and you just stop the play right there. But this issue doesn't seem very solvable. But definitely was a little too aggressive on Shahir's part.
Yeah, it definitely was a dirty hit. But I feel like at the same time, defenders are kind of in like a gray area because like we've seen quarterbacks like Mahomes almost like fake slow down to speed up after that. So, I mean, it's definitely tough when you're playing full speed, but a hit like that, it's no place for that in the game. Because we've seen people like Cam Newton get hit like that, and people haven't even been suspended at all for hits. So it's like there's no place for that.
I felt like I saw both sides, but like the sports media world was just, obviously they saw something different. I feel like in that split second, you just don't really know what's going to happen. And again, like Donald said, there's some QBs that'll actually fake like they're about to slide, like Mahomes, and then he'll just keep running. So then it's like, we can stop all that with this little forearm. So like, I kind of see what he was thinking, but then, it did look like T-Law was definitely about to slide. So I see both sides on that one. Now, one of the most confusing matchups for me this week is going to be the Seahawks and the Cardinals. This is such a toss-up. I feel like some people's records are going to get fucked up here. Whose record is it going to be this week, B?
Well, if I remember a couple weeks ago, y'all roll with the Cardinals at Seattle, right? And the Seahawks and the Seahawks won. And the only reason I picked the Seahawks is they're at home. So that's going to be the only reason why I picked the Cardinals here. That and the Cardinals are on a 2-game losing streak, and the Seahawks are on a 2-game winning streak, which is a little too much for both of them because they both are very mid. As is that whole division with the Niners, but not being the Niners that we've known over the last 4 or 5 years. That division's a mid-off. It's just like the NFC South, but maybe slightly better. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals here. Just think at home they have a little more momentum. And Geno, the definition, the imagery of the word mid, I think he's got like damn near the same amount of interceptions as touchdowns this year. So maybe he has a down game this week and Kyler Murray's a little bit better. So I'll rock with the Cardinals here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals as well. The Seahawks almost slipped up and lost to the Jets last week, but the Jets um, pretty much lost the games for themselves. Um, this is a big game for the Cardinals. Honestly, this will keep them in the division race. I feel like everybody's kind of hovering around the same record in the NFC West as well, with the Rams still right there. The Niners aren't completely out of it with all their injuries, so I think the Cardinals find a way to win this one. It'll be a close game, but as you mentioned, they're at home, and that definitely matters in a matchup like this. So I'm going Arizona.
Yeah, I guess give me the Cardinals, man. The Seahawks are trash, and they just make me upset every week. I find they just find a way to make me upset. DK Metcalf, trash this year. Geno Smith, trash this year. Kenneth Walker, trash this year. Why is your roster so good and you just can't put anything together? They've had miscommunications on snaps and stuff all week. They just beat themselves every week. It's nasty. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cardinals, but it's not like they've really been consistent either. Kyler Murray has been all over the place, so you never really know what you're gonna get from him on any given week. But yeah, they're at home, so I'm gonna rock with the Cardinals. We got the Bills and the Rams. Josh Allen is now the MVP favorite over Lamar Jackson. So is he gonna be an MVP form in LA this week?
I just remember when after the Rams won the Super Bowl, these two teams played each other in the first game the next year in LA, and the Bills just absolutely smoked them. And I feel like both these teams haven't changed too much since, other than the Bills have turned over a lot of their stars. But I don't see why the Bills won't smoke them again. I just think the Rams are just very inconsistent on both sides of the ball. You don't know what's going to – I think Matthew Stafford, he was my quarterback in fantasy last week. He had like 2 points at halftime, ended up with like 15. But like the Rams just are not very trustworthy. And Josh Allen kind of just having the best year of his career, not stat-wise, but just consistency-wise. I feel like he preys on a team like the Rams. And I do think, ultimately it comes down to him and Saquon for that MVP battle. If Saquon can eclipse Eric Dickerson's record, it's going to be hard to deny him. But then again, it has been treated as a quarterback award for well over a decade now. So I think if he continues to not turn the ball over and he has like a monster game or two, he's probably going to win it. And I don't think the Rams have much of a defense for him at this point. So I got to rock with the Rams here. I do not think – I got to rock with the Bills here. And I think the Rams will be consistent enough to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bills to win as well. I think it can be a close game if the Rams control the clock and run the football. If there is a weakness with Buffalo, it's their run defense. But they're just playing great football right now, and I'm sure they're looking forward to that matchup next week against the Lions, which could solidify Josh Allen's MVP if they get that win. But without looking too far ahead, I think they'll get the win versus the Rams this week, but it can be a very close game. But I'm still going to take Buffalo in the end to find a way to get the victory.
2 weeks ago, week 12, I had a matchup in fantasy. Mind you, I lost by 2 points. Started the Rams defense, didn't have a choice. They gave me -7 points. Go Bills. Next up, we got the Bears and the 49ers. Caleb Williams versus Brock Purdy. Obviously, the news of CMC and Jordan Mason being put on IR, likely done for the season. Isaac Guerrero gets to start probably for the rest of the season. Looks like DJ Moore is going to play. Looks like Keenan Allen is going to play. So how do we feel about the 49ers and the Bears?
And it's another confusing situation because if you've mentioned in the past, Mitch, the Bears have an interim coach now, and interim coach is usually the hot hand that first week. However, I don't think that would look so good for Kyle Shanahan to, lose to an interim coach at home, even though his team is depleted. I heard like rumors all week about how the Niners might need to trade Shanahan to the Bears next year for a first-round pick because maybe that's hit a wall. I mean, I think it's all probably BS, but the media likes to do their thing. That would be interesting to see if Shanahan could turn around the Bears and Caleb Williams. But other than that, man, this is a really tough game to call because the Niners are so beat up. I'm going to go with the Niners here. Just think there's a slither of hope that they can compete in that division still. And they'll show out at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Niners as well. Even with all their injuries, I just feel like they're still the better team. They have the better coach, clearly. I don't really know what's going on with them this season, but as you mentioned, B, they're not completely out of it for their division. So they're still playing for something. I think the Bears will have a little more fight in them with Eberflus gone, so it can definitely be a close game. But I'm just going to give the Niners the edge because they're at home, and they've kind of been embarrassed these past 2 weeks as well. So I think this is kind of like a get-right game, kind of like almost a pride game for them. So I'm going to go with the Niners.
Yeah, give me the Niners because they're at home. But the Bears have been playing pretty well. Caleb Williams has looked a lot better since the new offensive coordinator has been there. I'd say the same thing with the passing game. Keenan Allen and DJ Moore have been a lot better. Roma Dunze just seems like he's out of the offense as a whole. So, yeah, I think the Niners will get the dub, though. I think Garendo, honestly, has a pretty good day as well. So next up, we got the Chargers and the Chiefs. This is actually a pretty good matchup here. The Chiefs weren't they taken down to the wire by the Raiders last week? Is that what that was?
And the
That was
Panthers,
last week.
and the Panthers the week before.
And the Panthers. So against a pretty good team here, they're going to have to raise their level. They can't play that type of football this week. Will they come out right this week? B.
Well, the only thing is the commonality I've seen with the Chargers all year is they can't beat good teams. I think the only team with a winning record they've beaten this year is the Broncos on the road, and obviously the Broncos were, in a building process. What do you say?
They beat the Falcons.
Well, the Falcons are 500 now that they beat them, but yeah, they did have a winning record when they played them. But I mean, they lost to the Steelers, they lost to the Ravens, they lost to the Chiefs at home, and they lost to the Cardinals. So I mean, I feel like the Chiefs are just going to continue their streak of winning really close games because that's what it seems like they are bound to do. Give me like 21-17 Chiefs. The Chargers don't have a really good offense. They have a quarterback who's really good but doesn't turn the ball over, but they don't really have the receivers. They have a good defense for sure, but I think the Chiefs know how to beat them.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Chiefs in this one as well. No matter how close the game has been, the Chiefs have just been finding ways to win. It may be some type of devil magic. I don't know what it is, but they're just finding ways. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs to win this one. It'll definitely be a close game. If actually, is Dobbins still hurt? Dobbins is still out. Yeah, no, I got the Chiefs. It'll be close, but I got the Chiefs. Chargers are playing better football. They have a strong defense, but I got the Chiefs.
Not a Gus Edwards guy?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going with the Chiefs. I'll tell you that. I think that they've just played close games all year, and I just trust the Chiefs more than any team in any close game, and I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means. The Chiefs don't get blown out for real. So I got the Chiefs winning this one at home. I think it'll be a good game, though. I think it'll be nice and competitive. And speaking of competitive games, we have the Bengals and the Cowboys. Joe Burrow versus Cooper Rush. What's going to happen in this game, B?
Well, we've seen that matchup before, Joe Burrow versus Cooper Rush, and the Cowboys actually beat them 20-17 2 years ago, back when they were both good teams. But I did see that like Trayvon Diggs strapped Jamar Chase in that game. Will he be able to do it again? We'll see, but doesn't look that way because the Bengals score a lot of points. But then you got to ask yourself, are the Bengals going to let up a lot of points because they let up a lot of points to every opponent? And that makes this game really confusing. I feel like both coaches are fighting for their jobs at this point. It's hard to tell what's going to happen. I don't think the Bengals have beaten the Cowboys since 2004. I saw that too. So I mean, there's a lot of confusion in this matchup. Really hard to choose. God, I'm going to pick the Bengals just because I feel like they have to win a game at some point. I saw what the Texans did to the Cowboys on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago. I feel like the Bengals got to come out strong and just pour it on at some point, but I could very well be wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one as well, but I think it will be a close game just because of how terrible these defenses are here. But I think just going into the matchups here, Joe Burrow against his Cowboys defense with Jamar Chase with the season he's having. I mean, if it wasn't for Saquon and Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase is the clear offensive player of the year, in my opinion. But just with him and T. Higgins on the outside, and then Chase Brown's playing pretty solid at running back. The Bengals, none of their issues are offensively. It's all defense for them. So they can score with anyone, and I think they'll just score more points than Dallas here and get the win.
I'm trying to remember who the Cowboys played last week.
Oh, Giants?
Yes, that's why they look good. Wow. All right, there you go. It's the matchups, man. Yeah, they can look good against the Giants. I don't believe it against the Bengals, especially any of these teams. And I've said it all year, guys. Their run defense is trash. I predicted it last time. I think it was the Texans against them, and I was like, Joe Mixon's going to run all over them. Chase Brown again is going to run all over them. And if they decide to pass the ball, you can put Trayvon Diggs on Jamar Chase if you want to. We got T. Higgins. It doesn't matter. We got 8 different tight ends to catch the ball. So like I feel like they're gonna be fine. The offense is gonna be humming. It's really about what the Bengals defense is gonna do. Because I mean, if you give up a bunch of points to Cooper Rush, it's just that's just nasty. You know, it's gonna be hard to win games like that. So, but ultimately, I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I think they have the better team. I think I trust their offense more than I trust anything on the Cowboys, and this should be a good dub. Also, I think Mike McCarthy's job is a little bit safer than a lot of people think. It sounds like
That's what the reports are looking like.
It seems like Jerry's probably going to bring him back regardless. So to be honest, I think the Bengals coach needs this win a little bit more. So yeah, I think the Bengals are going to be a little bit more motivated than the Cowboys this week. And with that being said, that is all the matchups for Week 14. Does anybody have anything to add?
No, it's great week,
man.
All righty, Week 14. I don't know if you're in the playoffs or it is the last week of your regular season, but best of luck to you. Me and B both need somebody to lose, and we need to win this week. So all the scenarios out there, man, best of luck to everybody, and we will catch you next week for Week 15 matchups.